Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of coins, and we've got something that might just change the way you look at pocket change forever. We're talking about the 1974 Washington quarter dollar. That's right, the humble 25-cent piece that might be sitting in your drawer or jingling in your car cup holder could actually be worth a lot more than you ever imagined. Now at first glance, the 1974 quarter doesn't look like anything special. It's got George Washington's familiar profile on the front, facing left, just like every other quarter minted since 1932. The reverse side shows the eagle perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches underneath. Nothing flashy. But hold on, because the story of this coin is far more interesting than its everyday appearance suggests. Let's start with the basics. In 1974, over 800 million Washington quarters were struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone. Add in over 350 million from the Denver Mint, and you've got more than 1 billion quarters minted that year. That's a huge number. And because of that, most 1974 quarters aren't worth more than face value. But don't click away just yet, because there are some exceptions that could be hiding in plain sight. What makes some 1974 quarters valuable? It all comes down to rarity, errors, condition, and in some cases, even historical experiments that were never meant for public eyes. Let's talk about one of the most famous cases. The 1974 aluminum quarter. Yes, you heard that right. Aluminum. In the early 1970s, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different metals for coins because the price of copper and nickel was rising. So in 1974, the Mint struck a few prototype quarters made from aluminum. These experimental coins were never officially released, and most were destroyed. But a few are rumored to have escaped. If you ever came across one of these ultra-rare aluminum 1974 quarters, you'd be holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins in American history. Some estimates put their potential value well over 6 figures. Now let's talk about mint errors. These are coins that left the mint with mistakes, things like double dies, off-center strikes, or even coins struck on the wrong planchet. One of the most valuable types of 1974 quarters is the double die obverse. That means the front of the coin, where Washington's face is, shows signs of doubling, especially in the date or lettering like the word Liberty or In God We Trust. If you spot strong doubling under magnification, especially with clear separation in the letters or numbers, you could be looking at a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on its condition. Then there's the off-metal errors. These are coins that were accidentally struck on planchets meant for other denominations or other materials. For example, a 1974 quarter struck on a nickel or penny blank. These kinds of errors are incredibly rare but have been known to fetch big money at auction. Imagine a 25-cent piece selling for $2,000 or more just because it was made on the wrong metal. Sounds unbelievable, but it's happened. Now let's talk condition. A regular 1974 quarter from pocket change isn't going to be worth more than 25 cents unless it's in exceptional condition. We're talking about coins graded mint state 65 or higher. These are coins with no wear, strong luster, and excellent eye appeal. High-grade examples can sell for anywhere between $20 and $50. And if you get one graded above MS67 by a top grading company like PCGS or NGC, you could be looking at hundreds of dollars for just one coin. Here's where it gets even more interesting. In recent years, collectors have become more focused on registry sets. That means they want to collect the best example of every year and mint mark. And for some years like 1974, it's actually really hard to find perfect coins. This demand drives up the prices even for common dates in top condition. For example, a 1974 D quarter graded MS68 by PCGS sold for over $1,000 at auction. Think about that. A coin that cost 25 cents turning into over $1,000 just because of its condition. So what's the takeaway here? Should you go digging through your couch cushions and old change jars? Absolutely. Because although most 1974 quarters are only worth face value, there are some that can be worth serious money. Whether it's a rare mint error, an experimental strike, or simply a coin in superb condition, the possibilities are out there, and let's not forget about the historical value. The Washington Quarter Series is one of the longest running in U.S. history. The 1974 quarter comes right before the major design change in 1975 and 1976 when the bicentennial quarters were introduced. That makes 1974 the last year of the classic eagle reverse before the United States celebrated its 200th birthday. In a way, the 1974 quarter marks the end of an era. So next time you get change from the store or find an old jar of coins, take a close look. You might just uncover a hidden treasure. And if you think you found something rare, get it checked out by a professional grader or take it to a coin dealer for a second opinion. Before we wrap up, here's a quick tip. Always look for strong details in the coin's design. Look closely at the hairlines on Washington's head, the feathers on the eagle, and the sharpness of the date and lettering. A clear, bold strike is always more desirable. Also, keep your eye out for any signs of doubling or strange metal coloration that might indicate an error. And that's it for today's deep dive into the 1974 Washington Quarter. A coin that seems ordinary on the outside but could be extraordinary if you know what to look for. We're diving deep into the story of the 1979 Washington Quarter Dollar. You might think it's just a common coin, but don't let its familiar face fool you. Some examples of this coin are worth serious money today, and the history behind it is full of surprises that even seasoned collectors might not know. So, let's go back to 1979. America was facing economic challenges, inflation was rising, and the coinage system was shifting to accommodate the demands of a changing economy. Amidst this, the Denver Mint struck the 1979 Washington Quarter, a coin that would become one of the most intriguing pieces of modern American currency. First, let's talk about the design. The obverse, or front, of the coin features the classic profile of George Washington, a design originally created by John Flanagan in 1932 to celebrate Washington's 200th birthday. His bust is centered and facing left, with the word Liberty above and the date 1979 below. The mint mark D, for the Denver Mint, is located to the right of Washington's ponytail. On the reverse side, we see the familiar American eagle, wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows with two olive branches below. This patriotic image reinforces strength and peace, values America holds dear. Now, most 1979 quarters are still in circulation and worth face value, just 25 cents. But here's where things get interesting. In the world of coin collecting, condition and rarity make all the difference. If you have a 1979 quarter in uncirculated or mint state condition, its value could jump significantly. Let's talk about grading. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless coin. A 1979 quarter in average circulated condition isn't worth more than a quarter. But a quarter graded MS65, which means it's in mint state with very few marks or blemishes, can be worth anywhere from $5 to $20 depending on the market and the eye appeal of the coin. Now here's where the big money comes in. A 1979 Washington Quarter graded MS67 or higher is considered extremely rare. Only a small number of these exist in such high grades. At auction, these coins have sold for hundreds, and sometimes even over $1,000. In 2021, one example of a 1979 quarter in MS67 plus condition sold for over $1,500. That's a massive return on a 25-cent coin, but that's not all. Some collectors are on the hunt for error coins, those rare mistakes made during the minting process that somehow escaped quality control. In the case of the 1979 quarter, errors like off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and double dies can make a coin significantly more valuable. One such double die obverse error has fetched over $200 at auction. It's also worth noting that many people confuse the 1979 quarter with the Susan B. Anthony dollar, which was also introduced that year. Both coins are similar in size and can easily be mistaken for one another. But the quarter has reigned as the workhorse of American commerce, and its collectability has only grown over time. Now, let's look at the current market. As of today, a pristine 1979 quarter graded MS67 by a top grading service like PCGS or NGC can be valued between $500 and $1,500, depending on demand, luster, and strike quality. Lower mint state coins, such as MS-64 and MS-65, trade regularly for $5 to $30. That if you're interested in coin collecting or just want to know if your pocket change has potential, start checking your quarters. Look at the details. Is the strike sharp? Are there any doubling effects on the letters or date? Is the coin off-center? Has it been preserved without scratches or discoloration? Even the smallest detail can mean a big difference in value. You may already own one of these valuable coins without knowing it. So don't ignore those old quarters in your coin jar. Instead, inspect them closely. You could be holding a miniature treasure that's quietly appreciated in value for over 4 decades. To wrap up, the 1979 D Washington quarter is more than just a piece of change. It's a symbol of American heritage, a relic of the late 70s, and a potential goldmine for those lucky enough to find one in exceptional condition or with a rare mint error. Whether you're a serious collector or just starting out, this coin is a must-watch, both literally and figuratively. We are diving deep into the history, value and market worth of the 1981 D Washington $quarter coin. This is a coin that might be hiding in your change jar, your drawer or your old coin album, and believe it or not, it could be worth far more than just 25 cents. First things first, let's take a step back in time to understand the origin of this quarter. The Washington quarter was first issued in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design was created by sculptor John Flanagan, and it features a profile portrait of George Washington on the obverse, while the reverse originally showed an eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows and framed by 2 olive branches. By 1981, this quarter had been in production for nearly 50 years and the design remained largely unchanged. But what makes the 1981 D Washington quarter particularly interesting is not just its age but the specific conditions in which it was minted and how it fits into the overall context of U.S. coinage. Now, the D in the 1981 D stands for the Denver Mint, where this coin was struck. In that year, over 575 million Washington quarters were produced at the Denver Mint. That's a massive number. So you might be wondering, with such a high mintage, how could this coin possibly be valuable? The answer lies in the condition, rarity, mint errors and collector demand. Let's break it down. Most circulated 1981 D Washington quarters are still only worth their face value. If you have one that's scratched, worn or has lost its original luster, it's probably only worth 25 cents. But if your quarter is in uncirculated condition, or better yet in a high grade certified by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, it could be worth significantly more. Let's talk about grading. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect flawless coin. A 1981 D quarter in mint state 65 is already considered a high-grade coin, and it typically sells for between $5 to $15. However, if your coin is in mint state 67 or higher, that's where things get really exciting. These ultra-high-grade coins are much rarer and have fetched prices of $100 or more at auction, but wait, it gets better. Some 1981 D quarters have rare mint errors or die varieties that dramatically increase their value. These include off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets and more. One example of a high-value error is a quarter struck on the wrong metal planchet, like a dime or even a foreign coin blank. These errors are exceptionally rare, but they do exist. In auction, some of these error coins have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the nature and rarity of the mistake. So how do you know if you have one of these valuable coins? First, examine your coin carefully under good lighting. Look for sharp details, minimal wear and any unusual markings. If you notice anything odd like doubled letters or numbers, missing parts of the design, or an unusual edge, it's worth taking a closer look. Using a magnifying glass or a microscope can help spot the fine details. If you think you've found something valuable, consider sending it to a grading service for authentication and professional appraisal. Beyond condition and errors, let's talk about market trends. The coin collecting world has seen a resurgence in interest, particularly for coins from the late 20th century. The 1980s were a transitional period for U.S. coinage, and collectors are now paying more attention to coins from this era. That means the demand for pristine or unusual examples of the 1981 D quarter is rising. In fact, recent sales data shows that collectors are willing to pay top dollar for high-grade or rare variety 1981 D quarters. In 2023, a PCGS graded MS-67 1981 D quarter sold for over $300. That's not bad for a coin you might find in your pocket change. Even better news for collectors is that coins like these are still out there. Because the mintage was so high, many 1981 D quarters are still in circulation or hidden away in personal coin collections, never properly examined for their full potential value. So what should you do now? Start by checking your change. Look through your old coin rolls, jars, and inherited collections. Focus on the Denver Mint. Mark the condition of the coin and anything that seems off or unusual. Even if your coin isn't an ultra-rare example, it might still be worth grading if it's in excellent shape. Also consider expanding your knowledge about quarter-dollar varieties and mint errors. The more you know, the better your chances of identifying a hidden gem. There are plenty of online resources, coin forums, and collector communities that can help you learn more and stay informed about market prices. Finally, keep an eye on auction sites and coin shows. These are great places to see what others are paying for similar coins and to gauge the current market value. Like any collectible market, coin values can fluctuate based on trends, economic conditions, and collector demand. In conclusion, the 1981 D Washington quarter dollar might not seem like much at first glance, but it holds the potential for real value, especially in top condition or with rare errors. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just getting started, this is a coin worth looking into. It reminds us that sometimes treasure isn't buried deep underground but hiding in plain sight in our pockets. We're diving into the story, value, and hidden treasures behind a coin you might already have in your pocket or tucked away in an old drawer. We're talking about the 1987 P Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it might look like any other quarter, but don't let its everyday appearance fool you. Some of these coins are worth way more than 25 cents. Some have sold for hundreds and even thousands of dollars. Let's explore WHY.SO first. A bit of background: the Washington quarter was first minted in 1932 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by John Flanagan, the coin featured a classic profile of America's first president on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. That design stuck around for decades, all the way through 1998. Before the state quarters program took over in 1999. Now let's zero in on the 1987 P quarter specifically. In 1987, the United States Mint in Philadelphia produced over 582 million Washington quarters with the P mint mark. That's a massive number, which might make you think these coins are totally common, and in most cases, they are. In circulated condition, most 1987 P quarters are worth just face value. But there's a twist: collectors and numismatists are always on the lookout for coins with unique traits, like mint errors, high-grade conditions, and rare varieties. That's where the real money comes in. Let's talk about condition and grading. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70 by services like PCGS and NGC. A grade of MS 60 means mint state but with noticeable flaws, while MS 70 means a flawless coin. For the 1987 P quarter, coins that grade MS 65 or higher start to bring real collector interest. MS 67 examples have sold for $100 to $300. And if you're lucky enough to find an MS 68, you're looking at a coin worth between $600 and $1,000 or more. Why so much for high grades? Because out of those 582 million coins, only a tiny fraction survive in that perfect mint state. The vast majority have been circulated, dropped, scratched, and worn down over the years. Finding a pristine example is like finding a needle in a haystack, but condition isn't the only factor. Error coins are a whole other market. The 1987 P Washington quarter has a few known mint errors that drive up value dramatically. Some error types include double die obverse, where parts of the design appear doubled. If you see doubling in the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," you might have a valuable coin on your hands. Off-center strikes, where the design is shifted from its normal position, sometimes dramatically. The more off-center, the higher the value, especially if the date is still visible. Clipped planchets, where a small piece of the coin is missing due to a mistake during the blank cutting process. These quirky errors are popular among collectors and can be worth between $50 and $200 depending on severity. There are also transitional errors and coins struck on the wrong planchet, though these are incredibly rare. For 1987.SO, how do you know if your quarter is valuable? First, check the mint mark. The 1987 P quarter was made in Philadelphia, but there are also 1987 D and S mint marks. The D is from Denver, and the S is for proof coin struck in San Francisco. If you've got a proof coin, you'll notice its mirror-like finish and sharp details. Most proof coins were sold in sets and didn't enter circulation. A 1987 S proof quarter in pristine condition typically sells for between $5 and $15, though deep cameo examples can bring in more. Now let's talk about current market trends. As of 2025, the coin market has seen renewed interest thanks to social media, YouTube channels, and TikTok collectors. High-grade and error quarters are seeing price spikes as demand increases. A 1987 P Washington quarter graded MS-67 by PCGS recently sold at auction for around $250. An MS-68 example reached over $1,000 due to its exceptional preservation and rarity. Meanwhile, error coins from this year continue to pop up on eBay and through certified dealers. Prices can vary, but unique errors often attract bidding wars, especially when professionally graded. So what should you do if you have a 1987 P quarter? First, examine it closely. Look for sharp detail, luster, and the absence of scratches or dings. Use a magnifying glass to check for any signs of doubling, off-centering, or missing details. Compare it to online listings or have it looked at by a local coin dealer. If you think it's something special, consider submitting it to a grading service. And here's a pro tip: if you come across rolls of quarters at banks or in change, don't overlook them. People unknowingly spend valuable coins all the time. Coin roll hunting is a popular hobby because it's low cost with the potential for high rewards. To sum it all up, while most 1987 P Washington quarters are only worth face value, the rare gems, those in high grades or with dramatic errors, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And that's what makes coin collecting so exciting. You never know when a simple quarter could turn into a small fortune. Video: we are diving deep into the world of American coinage history as we explore the fascinating story and hidden value behind the 1988 D Washington quarter dollar. If you have some old change lying around or a coin jar that's been sitting in the kitchen, you might want to check it carefully after watching this video. The Washington quarter has been a part of American life since 1932, when it was first introduced to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Designed by John Flanagan, the obverse features a left-facing bust of the first President of the United States. The reverse originally depicted an eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below. This design remained unchanged for decades. Now let us fast forward to 1988. The United States Mint in Denver produced over 560 million quarters that year. That is right. More than 500 million quarters with a small D mint mark under Washington's neck were struck and released into circulation. These were ordinary coins intended for everyday use. But not all of them are ordinary anymore. At face value, a 1988 D quarter is just 25 cents. But under the right conditions, and with the right characteristics, some of these coins can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's break down why. First, we need to talk about condition and grade. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale from poor to perfect mint state. A coin that has been heavily circulated may only be worth face value or slightly more to a beginner collector. However, a quarter that has never been used, and still has its original mint luster with no wear, is called an uncirculated or mint state coin. If you happen to find a 1988 D quarter that grades mint state 65 or higher, you are looking at a collectible coin. As of now, a 1988 D quarter in mint state 65 can sell for $10 to $20. But when you reach higher grades like mint state 67 or even mint state 68, that is where the serious money comes in. According to recent auctions and price guides, a 1988 D quarter in mint state 68 condition once sold for over $1,300. That is a huge return on a coin most people would walk past on the sidewalk. But wait. It gets better. Some rare error coins from 1988 have been found, and these are worth keeping an eye out for. One of the most valuable types of error is the double die. This happens when the coin is struck twice with misaligned dies, causing parts of the design to appear doubled. If you find doubling on the lettering like in the word liberty or the phrase "In God We Trust" or on Washington's eye or nose, it might be a double die error. Another error to look for is off-center strikes. If the design is not aligned properly and the coin appears to be cut off or missing part of the image, it can fetch a high price depending on how dramatic the error is. The more off-center the coin is while still showing a visible date, the more valuable it can be. Then there are planchet errors where the metal disc used to make the coin is flawed. Coins struck on the wrong metal or missing layers of plating can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on rarity. Even die cracks, cuts, and misaligned dies can turn a regular quarter into a valuable collector's item. The key is to examine your coins closely, preferably under magnification, and compare them to verified examples online or in coin reference books. Now you might be wondering, how do you find out what your 1988 D quarter is worth? Start by checking its condition. If it looks shiny and shows no signs of wear, you may have a mint state coin. Use a magnifying glass or a microscope to inspect the details and look for any signs of doubling or errors. You can also weigh the coin. It should be about 5.67 grams. Anything more or less could signal a metal anomaly. Once you suspect you have something special, you can get your coin professionally graded by companies like PCGS or NGC. Grading adds credibility and can dramatically increase resale value. In auctions, collectors trust certified coins more than raw ungraded ones. Let's take a quick look at the current market. As of this recording, average circulated 1988 D quarters are still worth 25 cents. Uncirculated coins in mint state 64 range from $5 to $10. Mint state 66 can bring in $20 to $50. Mint state 67 jumps to around $100 to $300. And in the rare case of a mint state 68, you could be looking at a coin worth over $1,000. Error coins vary wildly in price. A dramatic off-center 1988 D quarter might sell for over $100. A double die could go for anywhere between $50 and $500 depending on how strong the doubling is. And a wrong planchet error could bring in over $1,000. So what should you take away from all of this? The 1988 D Washington quarter may seem common, but hidden among the millions are some rare and valuable treasures. Whether you are a new collector or a seasoned numismatist, it pays to pay attention to your pocket change. Every coin tells a story. And some stories are worth a lot more than 25 cents. Video, we're unlocking the full story behind the 1994 P Washington $quarter coin. This coin might seem like just another piece of loose change, but you'd be surprised at how much money some of these coins have sold for. If you think all modern coins are worthless, you'll definitely want to watch this one until the end. Let's take it back to 1994. The United States Mint was still producing the classic Washington quarter design that had been in use since 1932. These coins feature the iconic bust of George Washington on the obverse, with the word Liberty above his head, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the mint year 1994 just below. The P mint mark indicates it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. On the reverse, the coin shows the familiar eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows, surrounded by olive branches. This was the standard reverse used until the State Quarter series began in 1999. The 1994 quarter marks one of the final years of this classic design before the huge transformation into the 50 State Quarters program. Now, here's what makes the 1994 P quarter interesting. Over 1 billion of these coins were minted in Philadelphia. Yes, over 1 billion. So that naturally raises the question, with such a high mintage, how can this coin be valuable? Well, the key lies in condition, rarity of errors, and collector demand. Not all 1994 P quarters are worth money, but a small number of them have sold for impressive amounts, sometimes hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's break this down further. First, let's talk about mint state coins. A mint state coin is one that has never been circulated and still retains its original luster. These are graded on the Sheldon scale from MS-60 all the way up to MS-70, which is a perfect coin. For the 1994 P Washington quarter, coins graded MS-67 or higher by grading companies like PCGS or NGC are considered rare. That's because out of the billions made, only a tiny fraction survive in such pristine condition. In fact, the record auction price for a 1994 P Washington quarter in MS-67 condition is over $1,000. That's right, A coin that originally cost 25 cents sold for more than $1,000 simply because of its flawless quality, but condition isn't the only thing that matters. Error coins from 1994 can be worth a fortune. Collectors are always on the lookout for dramatic minting mistakes. These include things like off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, and coins struck on the wrong metal planchet entirely. One famous example is a 1994 P quarter with a double die obverse. That means the lettering or design appears doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. A strong double die error can dramatically increase a coin's value, especially if it's in good condition. Another type of error to look for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned in the press and part of the design is missing. If the date and mint mark are still visible on a dramatically off-center strike, it could be worth anywhere from $50 to several $100s. Some of the most valuable 1994 quarters are those with planchet errors. Imagine finding a quarter that was accidentally struck on a dime or foreign coin planchet. These extremely rare errors can sell for thousands, depending on how obvious and dramatic the mistake is. Let's also talk about proof coins. Proof versions of the 1994 Washington quarter were made at the San Francisco Mint, not Philadelphia, so they bear an S mint mark. These proof coins are struck multiple times to give them extra detail and a mirror-like finish. While standard proof coins don't usually carry huge premiums, if you happen to have a 1994 proof quarter with a rare error or in perfect PR70 condition, it could be worth significantly more than face value. So where can you find valuable 1994 P quarters? The best place to start is your own pocket change, coin jars, or old collections. Carefully check each coin under good lighting, preferably with a magnifying glass or loupe. Look for any signs of doubling in the lettering or numbers, especially in the word Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date. Also check the edges for any signs of damage or misalignment that could indicate a mint error. If you think you found something special, consider having it graded by a professional third-party service like PCGS or NGC. Authentication and grading can significantly increase the value of your coin when it comes time to sell. As of this year, in the current coin market, circulated 1994 P quarters without any errors or special condition are still worth face value, just 25 cents. But uncirculated examples in high mint state grades, especially MS66 and above, are trending in value. MS66 quarters are typically worth between $15 and $50, while MS67 examples can fetch over $100. The highest quality specimens and rare error coins remain in high demand among collectors and investors alike. Before we wrap up, here's a quick tip: if you're buying or selling 1994 quarters or any collectible coin, always deal with reputable dealers or marketplaces. Watch out for counterfeit coins, and never clean your coins. Doing so can destroy their value. To summarize, the 1994 P Washington quarter may seem common at first glance, but hidden gems exist. Whether it's a rare mint state specimen or a dramatic error coin, there are 1,994 quarters out there worth big money. So take a closer look at your change. You never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. We're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American pocket change history, the 1995 D Washington $quarter coin. Now at first glance this might look like just another quarter you find in your change every day, but believe it or not, some of these 1995 D quarters can actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So in this video we're going to break down everything you need to know about the 1995 D quarter, the history of the coin, the minting details, why some of them are worth serious money, and how you can check if you have one in your collection. So sit back, grab your coins, and let's get started. Let's begin with a little bit of history. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 as a one-year commemorative coin to celebrate the 200th birthday of George Washington, but it became so popular that it was adopted as the regular issue quarter from then on. The design features the bust of George Washington on the obverse or head side, which was originally created by sculptor John Flanagan and stayed mostly unchanged for decades. Now fast forward to 1995. This was one of the final years before the big change in quarter design in 1999 when the U.S. Mint introduced the state quarters program. So the 1995 D quarter is one of the last in the long-standing traditional Washington quarter series. The D Mint mark on this coin stands for the Denver Mint. Where it was produced in 1995, the Denver Mint struck over 1.1 billion Washington quarters. So yes, they're not exactly rare in general, but here's the twist: some of them have errors or varieties that make them incredibly valuable to collectors. Let's talk about the most important reasons why some of these coins are worth a lot more than 25 cents. First up, we have die errors and minting flaws. One of the most famous types of error is the double die. Now, although there are no confirmed major double dies on the 1995 D quarter like the famous 1995 double die penny, collectors still look for minor doubling, especially on the lettering like "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," but more common and more valuable are the striking errors, things like off-center strikes where the coin isn't struck evenly and part of the design is missing. Also look out for clipped planchets where part of the coin's edge is literally missing due to a miscut blank. Another big one is broad-struck coins which were struck without the retaining collar. This gives the quarter a larger diameter and can make the design look warped or spread out. These types of error coins can sell from anywhere between $50 to a few hundred depending on the severity and demand. Next up, we have high-grade coins. Even if your 1995 D quarter doesn't have any errors, if it's in pristine uncirculated condition, it can still be worth good money. Coins that are graded by professional companies like PCGS or NGC can receive a grade on the Sheldon scale which goes from 1 to 70. A grade of MS60 or higher means mint state, meaning it's never been used in circulation. Some 1995 D quarters have received grades as high as MS67 and even MS68. These top pop coins, meaning they're the highest known for that year, can sell for hundreds and even up to $1,000 or more at auction. One example, a 1995 D Washington quarter graded MS68 by PCGS sold for over $1,700. That's right, over $1,700 for a coin you might find in your pocket. So what should you look for if you want to find one of these valuable 1995 D quarters? First, check the coin's condition. Is there any wear and tear, scratches, dings, or is it in sharp fresh mint state condition? Next, look at the edges and the rim. Is it off center? Is it thicker or thinner than normal? Then use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and check for doubling on the text. Look at the word Liberty, the date, and especially "In God We Trust." Now let's talk about current market value. As of today, the average 1995 D quarter in circulated condition is worth just face value 25 cents, but when you get into mint state and error varieties, the value goes up dramatically. Mint state examples in the MS65 range typically sell for around $10 to $20. MS66 examples can go from $50 to $100. MS67 quarters are much more rare and often sell in the $200 to $400 range. MS68, the highest grade currently known, is extremely rare, and those examples have broken the $1,000 marker. Coins like off-centers, clipped planchets, and broad-struck examples can sell for anywhere from $50 to $500 depending on rarity and demand. So if you have rolls of quarters or change jars sitting around, it might be worth taking a look. You never know what hidden treasure you might find. Also remember that condition is key. If you find something interesting, it's always a good idea to have it evaluated by a professional grader or take it to a local coin shop for an expert opinion. And finally, keep in mind that coin values do fluctuate based on collector demand, auction results, and overall market trends. So what might be worth $500 today could go up or down in the future. So there you have it, the 1995 D Washington quarter, a coin that seems ordinary but might just be hiding in plain sight with the potential to be worth big money. We're diving deep into one of the more overlooked yet surprisingly valuable coins in modern American history, the 1998 P Washington quarter dollar. That's right. What might look like an ordinary pocket change coin could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars today under the right conditions. If you have one of these coins lying around, you'll want to watch this video all the way through. Let's start with a little background. The Washington quarter has a rich history that stretches all the way back to 1932, when it was first introduced to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. But the 1998 P quarter stands out in a special way. Not only is it the final year before the U.S. Mint introduced the wildly popular 50-state quarters program in 1999, but it's also a coin that carries some hidden gems, rare varieties, striking errors, and condition rarities that make it a hot target for collectors today. Now, when we talk about the 1998 P quarter, the P stands for the Philadelphia Mint. That year, the Philadelphia Mint struck approximately 896 million Washington quarters. Yes, that's a massive number. So on the surface, it might seem like the 1998 P quarter is too common to be valuable. But don't be fooled. Within that huge mintage are rare error coins, high-grade specimens, and special strike varieties that are worth big money. Let's talk about value. A regular 1998 P quarter in circulated condition is generally only worth face value, 25 cents. But when you get into uncirculated grades, that's where things get interesting. If you find a 1998 P quarter in mint state condition, say MS 65 or higher, you're looking at a coin that can sell for $5 to $25. Not bad for a quarter. But it gets even better. High-grade examples graded MS 67 or MS 68 can command even higher prices. According to auction records, a stunning 1998 P quarter graded MS 68 by PCGS once sold for over $1,000. That's right, a single quarter worth $1,000. What makes these coins so valuable is their condition. Coins at this level must be nearly flawless. No scratches, no wear, perfect luster, and sharp details. These kinds of quarters are rare because most coins get worn down quickly in circulation. Now, let's get into the real money, the error coins and varieties. This is where the big money hides. One of the most sought-after types of errors in the 1998 P quarter is the off-center strike. If the coin was not properly aligned when it was struck, part of the design will be missing, and it creates a unique look that collectors love. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, these coins can be worth between $50 and $500 or more. Then you have double die errors. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a doubling in the design. On the 1998 P quarter, doubling has been found on Washington's I, the word liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." These double die errors can range in value from $100 to several $100s, depending on visibility and coin condition. But perhaps the most famous and mysterious error related to the 1998 P quarter is the experimental planchet variety. There have been rumors and reported discoveries of 1998 quarters struck on different metallic compositions. In one known case, a 1998 quarter was mistakenly struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet. This error is extremely rare, and the coin was golden in color due to the different metal. If authenticated, such a coin can be worth thousands of dollars. So, how do you find out if you have a valuable 1998 P quarter? First, check the condition. If it looks almost new with full detail and no visible scratches or wear, it might be worth sending it into a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Look carefully with a magnifying glass for any signs of doubling, especially in the text and in Washington's facial features. And always keep an eye out for off-center designs or any coin that looks unusual. Also, don't forget about proof coins. While the Philadelphia Mint didn't strike proofs in 1998, the San Francisco Mint did. Proofs are specially made coins with mirror-like surfaces, and they're usually only sold in sets. If you find a 1998 quarter with a very sharp, shiny finish and an S mint mark, that's a proof. Most proof coins are worth a few dollars, but if you find a rare error among the proofs, the value can jump dramatically. So what's the takeaway from all this? Even though the 1998 P Washington quarter dollar might seem like just another coin, it holds real potential value, especially if you find one in top condition or with a minting error. The key is knowledge, attention to detail, and knowing where to look. Before you toss your spare change in a jar or spend it on a coffee, take a close look. You might be holding a $1,000 coin without even realizing it. Coin collecting is not just a hobby. For some, it's a real investment. That's it for today's deep dive into the 1998 P Washington quarter dollar. If you enjoyed this video and want more in-depth looks at valuable modern coins, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Leave a comment below and let us know, have you ever found a valuable quarter in your change? Thanks for watching, and happy hunting.